How does God speak words? What is meant by that? Do words confuse us? At least sometimes? Can we be sure that we understand correctly? What time span is 6 days? Are these calendar days? Could this scripture imply something else? Does it take deeper thought, more careful consideration to understand meanings? Lists, time frames, and rules marinated in dogmas, frameworks, and systems. We can argue about such things. They offer hierarchies of perceived purity, a chance to prove we are right, superior, righteous. What we chisel into stone can litigate theories. What we repeat as inerrant divine utterance can become another form of enslavement. What we read quickly, thinking we understand, can domesticate the divine. This is how we've historically treated the creation story or the origin story. This is how we've historically compiled the 10 Commandments or the 10 words. From this place, then, one can dub teaching the story of a 6-day creation as science, and then the 10 Commandments can be reduced to a religious emblem for Alabama public K-12 schools, and as recently as yesterday, for Senate Bill 10 in Texas, that every public school in Texas be required to display the 10 Commandments under a requirement that passed a key vote in the Texas legislature Saturday. It is so much more laborious and time-consuming to begin to grapple with nuance, to detect a concept as opposed to repeat a commandment, to build a cohesive spiritual understanding. If we truly believe that God is still speaking, we have no choice but to dig more deeply so we can understand more faithfully. I've gained a great deal reading the work of Rabbi Danya Ruttenberg over a course of years. It's helpful to read the work of scholars who move within the language and the culture of the original text, which we read from our English translations. Rabbi Ruttenberg begins by pointing out that there are 2 scripture passages that outline what we have come to dub the 10 Commandments. One from Exodus 20, the other from Deuteronomy 5. Both ostensibly written by Moses, the leader who led the Hebrews to freedom out of Egyptian enslavement. So why the repetition? Why are there 2 texts? The reason there are 2 passages is not inconsequential. They represent 2 distinct time periods in Hebrew history. The words recorded in Exodus came to the Hebrews immediately following their exodus out of Egypt, their escape from the land of enslavement and horror, out of the reality of continual work and no rest, the place of their personal and communal agony. The operational word opening the Exodus passage is remember, zakor in Hebrew. Remember how things were, and now remember how things will be moving forward. From now on, Sabbath rest will make everything different for you. It changes the very fiber for you as a people. Rabbi Ruttenberg quotes Professor Tamara Cohn-Eskenazi, who says the following: "The people who were just liberated from slavery, still deep in the trauma of enslavement, the plagues, of their narrow escape of the Red Sea, are told that they are allowed, finally, to rest, like God." Ruttenberg continues, there is a beauty and a softness to it, a gentleness to it that one imagines that someone still adjusting to the experience of freedom might need. This is the natural order of things. You get to be a part of the divine rhythm now. The why of resting is that we are all in this place where we get to be a part of the natural order of creation. End quote. The words as recorded in Deuteronomy 5 are again spoken by Moses, but it is now 40 years later. The people most traumatized by the generations of enslavement have died, and their children and their grandchildren now stand at the brink of entering the place that they will call home, a place in which they won't be told what to do by enslavers. They will need to grow up into accountability, develop a mature relationship with the divine, and they will need to guard against becoming like their oppressors were. It's not unusual for those who've been oppressed to become the oppressor after their own liberation. These are the systems and the structures and the rhythms which they know. They have gotten deep into their DNA. Therefore, the operative word of the Deuteronomy text is keep or guard, shamor in Hebrew. Guard, protect, keep the Sabbath. Guard the boundary line which establishes rest for you. It's a precarious boundary, a thin boundary which is so easily violated. Guard Sabbath rest and treat it as holy. And guard this rest equally. There is no hierarchy, there are no exceptions. Your children, your servants, your cattle, an immigrant who is living among you, all can rest just like you. That was revolutionary then, and it's still revolutionary today. No discrimination, no disenfranchisement when it comes to rest and rhythm. This is the new divine rhythm. It's not a rule to be kept while simultaneously, recklessly racing to the edge, seeing just how much work can still be done without discarding this new divine rhythm. No. Intentionally guard the boundary between rest and work, and guard it for everyone. This is the reason for a different account of this commandment. One is focused on the rest that must come after enslavement, a healing rest. The other focuses on guarding the rest, never taking freedom for granted, freedom to rest for granted. That is a protective rest. Moses knew how tenuous this rest was. Is it becoming a little more clear that commandments understood as rules and regulations are impoverished attempts at regulating people based on what is perceived as divine decree? Words of God can never be life-giving, nor make any sense over expansiveness of time except when they are understood as concepts and overarching themes which illumine every human era. Themes not confined to one religion or one moral code, but deeply consequential for the well-being of everyone and everything. There are additional concepts on display in what we have come to know as the Ten Commandments, which are somewhat peripheral to our discussion this morning, but significant in pointing out just how skewed our understanding has become. For instance, the commandment, do not steal. All of us likely consider that we know what that means. Don't tell a lie. Don't steal. Don't take what is not yours. And we all know what is not ours. We may not take that. However, the Hebrew term that is used here points to a different direction. This commandment doesn't discourage petty theft. Other scriptures do, but not this one. The Hebrew meaning here is a particular commandment that most likely means do not steal people. In other words, do not kidnap. Another example, do not bear false witness against your neighbor. Here again, typically we've taken it to mean don't lie. It's much easier to regulate a binary true and false, but it is much more difficult to adjudicate deception, to recognize when testimony, in court or otherwise, is worthless, or to demand speaking in ways that do not intentionally harm other people. But that's what is meant here. Final example, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife. You shall not covet your neighbor's house or field or servants or anything that is your neighbor's. However, the word covet, as used in this scripture, has to do with seizing or stealing or taking or defrauding. Ruttenberg explains that this refers to the violence of aggressive debtor practices. That is, predatory loan systems that end in those unable to pay back having their property seized. We have easily labeled the first coveting of the commandment, that about the neighbor's wife, relating to adultery, and the second, envy. These then become personal morality issues which we can shame and control people with, completely avoiding the possibility that this could pertain to structural systems. These three peripheral examples, along with this central discussion of rest and rhythm as reflecting divine structure, invite us to look more deeply at a very familiar text that we thought we knew. If Danya Ruttenberg's statement, the rhythm of rest is the natural order of things, you get to be a part of this divine rhythm now, if that statement is correct, we must ask ourselves, where do rest and rhythm intersect with capitalism? Or possibly more accurately, where do rest and rhythm collide with capitalism? We have a preoccupation with getting things done. If only I would have energy past 8 p.m., imagine what I could all get done before bedtime. I think I can squeeze you in between my 9 a.m. appointment and my 11:30 lunch meeting. Well, while I'm waiting for the kids in the lineup of cars, after school I can make 3 phone calls and probably answer a couple of text messages. That's us, right? We've been made to feel guilty for every moment we are idle. We feel we need to explain, to justify, or to hide when we take downtime. We have become the side hustle and 3 jobs to get by society. I read an article about Jeff Bezos, the founder and executive chairman of Amazon, in which he was quoted as saying, and I paraphrase, "I want my employees to be terrified every minute they are working. Terrified employees get more done." Well, it's no wonder that Amazon employees are required to keep filling orders from their phone from the restroom, if they're even allowed to take a break. Why has it become acceptable, even prestigious, to always be busy, to always be doing more, to being productive? We have exchanged the rest and rhythm of the divine for the demand and dehumanization of capitalism. We have allowed ourselves to become convinced that capitalism is the best world system, the best way to get ahead, the best way to have more, be more, experience more. We have become the stolen people, the kidnapped people of the machine. Do not steal people. Do not kidnap. Yet capitalism steals its workers' very life by ensuring they have fewer rights, minimal free time, and a growing sense of guilt for not meeting the demands. Capitalism ensures that education will train people to be the best human machinery, whether in mundane industries or in executive offices. Religion or morality have taught us not to lie, while capitalism has used deception, given us unquestionable and worthless messages, and it has used every marketing technique possible to increase profits, even if people and human connections are destroyed as a result. While we may feel a twinge of dis-ease when we wish for what others have, when we hustle to get ahead so we don't have to do without, we are soaked in an economic system that takes from you whenever possible. A predatory lending, interest, and loan repayment system that destroys countless peoples every day. Bankruptcies, medical debt, and overwork to maintain a standard of living we have been duped into thinking we deserve. We are shackled, and we feel a sense of moral failure when we drown as a result of choices we think we have made, but which are made by a system instilled so deeply inside of our souls, we think it originates with us. It doesn't. It originates outside of ourselves, just as the Hebrews' enslavement system did. But it was still locked inside of their souls, too. This is why it is crucial to remember, to guard the rhythm of rest. We are humans. We are not machines. We're part of a natural landscape of abundance. All around us there is abundance, without any beg for consumerism. We are made in the image of the divine, with all of the possibility and beauty and creativity that reflect the immense magnificence of our Creator. We are destined not to fulfill a standardized role. It is not our destiny to be a piece of capitalist machinery, or to fit into a slot that has one size and one size only. We are designed to live in a community of respect and harmony, harmony with all of creation and with Creator. Where we have lost sight of this, we can adjust our vision. If we have never known this, we can breathe deeply with gratitude and hope and curiosity. Moses' words from Deuteronomy 5 are, Yahweh didn't make this covenant with our ancestors, but with us, all of us who are here and alive right now. That's you, and that's me. A divine invitation to rest and rhythm is a way of showing respect. Initially, God's respect for humans and for the more than human world, then the human's respect for the divine and for all that has been created. But how do we begin to right this ship? We cannot accomplish it on a macro level, not yet, but a shift on a personal and community level will feel like a macro shift. Think of it this way. We know a little bit about what value meditation has in everyday life. 10 or 15 or 20 minutes of stillness and silence literally changes how our minds function. Such a small thing with such great impact. The same is true with rest and rhythm. I close with the encouraging words from Rabbi Abram Joshua Heschel from his legendary book, The Sabbath. To set apart one day a week for freedom, a day on which we would not use the instruments which have been so easily turned into weapons of destruction. A day for being with ourselves, a day of detachment from the vulgar, of independence from external obligations, a day on which we stop worshiping the idols of technical civilization, a day on which we use no money, a day of armistice in the economic struggle with our fellow human and the forces of nature, Is there any institution that holds out greater hope for progress than Sabbath? End quote. I leave you with this invitation for hope. Large, deeply entrenched systems can be changed through individual and community transformation. Indeed, it is the only way they ever have been changed. How does God speak? Through actions of respect and reminder, creating an atmosphere of care, safety, and nurture. We can discard our compulsive list-making, timekeeping, rule-following. We can exchange our dogmas, frameworks, and systems for respect, restoration, and nervous system regulation. We can let go of petty things, all the guilt and the competition, our enslavement to hustle and produce. We can lay down our need to be right, to prove our worth with overcommitment. We can recognize that rest is a justice issue, and we are called into the sacred rhythm of the divine. May it be so.